Deepak, I'm so glad you're here in Dubai. I know it's your first visit here.
Thank you. Yes, yeah, it was.
And you know, I'm very keen for people to know that they can do a keto diet
Yes, of course. Yes.
with being a veg as opposed to meat eaters. So maybe a good place to start is, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about, you know, your story over the last, what is it, 3 years or so?
Yeah.
So what actually happened 3 years ago? I know you weren't in that good health, because I think I might have just met you around that time or whereabouts. So
I'll tell you before 3 years. So I was into a lab business. I was a laboratory technician earlier. I don't know much about the nutrition. I don't know much about, even most of the people in India or rest of the world, they don't know about the food, about the way we have to look our food from like a nutrition basis. We don't want, I mean, I don't know much about my food. I just eat my food to fill my stomach up. So I was fat, I was overweight. Though I don't think myself, like, I don't think I'm overweight, but yes, I was. I was into gymming and everything. I do gym for an hour and almost 5 days a week. And
so not much changed when you were doing your exercise.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
so
that's interesting, because, you know, most people don't realize that you can't actually lose weight by going to the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, it does a lot of good things, don't get me wrong.
Yes,
but
right.
Weight loss is not one of them.
Yes,
yeah.
right.
So what happened after that?
So when I met you first, like, it was in 2016. So it's in somewhere between March and
in Delhi.
In Delhi we met first time.
Yeah.
So from then after, you just let me know about the food, everything you just told me. So then I'll try to educate myself regarding the food, and then my way of thinking of what I'm eating is changed. So then after, I start reading a lot about food. I start reading about the macronutrient, reading about the protein, I reading about the fat and the carbohydrate, the sugar. Then after, I get to know that most of the thing which is damaging myself, it's the sugar and the carb. Doesn't matter it's a complex carbs or the starchy carbs or what kind of carbs I'm eating. At the end of the day, it's the same. It's converted to sugar.
Yeah.
And that's the thing which is damaging myself.
Yeah. So I mean, number one, you realized you weren't in the best shape. You weren't feeling your best.
Yeah.
And then, so how much were you weighing in the very beginning then? How heavy were you?
Yeah, I was somewhere around 85 to 86 kilos, yes.
And did you I know you had a body fat not too long
yeah, it is
after
somewhere
we
around
met.
28%.
28%
Yes.
fat. And as, I don't know.
I have big bellies and my face is like fluffy.
Right. So, and then you started what, straight away on keto, or did you start on paleo, or what, you just...
Yeah, I started with lowering my carbs.
Lowering your carbs.
Yeah.
So low carb first before you went
Yes.
to keto.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then the more I learn about this diet, then I'm more interested to doing keto.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I started to implement keto on myself first.
Right.
I get most of my desirable result within 6 to 7 months. I came down to 70, 71. My body
so
fat.
from 86 down to 71. What's
Yeah,
that?
that's
15 kilos.
Yes, that's
just
in 5 in 6 months.
5 or 6 months.
Yes.
That's
And being
impressive.
a vegetarian.
And being a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Look, for me, that was the most interesting thing, because I'd seen, before I came to India and we opened up a center there, I was very interested to see if people with a high fat diet, you know, how can you possibly do keto if you're a strict veg? Because I don't think you eat fish or eggs or anything.
Yes,
It's
right,
basically you're
right.
a plant-based guy, right?
Yeah.
So maybe explain to us, how do you get, like, because obviously we've talked about 70% fat, 20% protein, 10% carbs. So how does a vegetarian get protein and things?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. I just stick to the basics. Doesn't matter you are a meat eater, doesn't matter you are a plant eater, you are a vegan, or whatever kind of food you are eating. I just stick to the basics, and the basic is just lowering your carb intake, get it down to less than 20 grams per day. You have to eat moderate amount of protein. You need to have, like, you don't need to have 200 or 300 grams of protein. You just need sufficient amount of protein which is somewhere around between 80 gram to 100 gram per day, different person to person, it's very, and the rest is fat. You need to have 65 to 70% of fat, the calorie of fat which is come from the fat. So that's the basic ISIC. So I lowering my carb intake.
How did you do that?
Yes, the first thing is removing all these flours, wheat, the rice, the
all
sugar,
the grains,
the fruits, all the grains.
So that
Yeah, including the healthy
eliminated.
grain. Yeah, it's
Including
completely
healthy
eliminated.
grains.
Yeah. Then the rice, next thing, which is really difficult for me also, but yeah, it is manageable. See, initially it's difficult when you're thinking to cut down your carbs, when you're thinking to cut down rice and wheat from your diet. Initially it's difficult, but when you follow it, let's say for 15 to 20 days, then you're able to understand that you can easily follow this kind of a diet.
And you feel better, obviously, after a
Exactly.
few
Yes.
weeks.
Yes. All
So
you need to
no bread, no
Nothing.
cookies,
nothing.
no cakes. All these things disappear.
Anything which is touched
No
by
grains.
men, I don't eat.
Anything touched by men.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
bread, biscuit, candies, pasta, anything.
So how does a veg get protein?
Yes. So this is the main question, and most of the people asking me, how do I get my protein if I'm not eating a meat or egg something?
Because you're training now as a keto coach, and
Yes,
you're
sir.
seeing, I would imagine half your clients are all veg, right?
Yes, yes. Most of the time.
Most of the clients.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if I was a veg coming to see you, what would you tell me to do?
See, as I said earlier, you only need a sufficient amount of protein, which you can get from a yogurt, you can get from a cottage cheese, and in India it's very famous, it's paneer.
Paneer.
So if you can consume 200 gram paneer a day, you can get easily around 30 to 40 grams of protein. That is half of your requirement for a day. And rest you can get it from a good plant source like pea protein, like a hemp protein. You can add some good nuts like almond. You can add some seeds like flax seeds, or you can add some Parmesan cheese. So that's how you can
cheeses, nuts, yogurt,
Yes.
these kind of things are good.
Yes, right.
So, and you can sustain that long term.
Yes, definitely. I'm doing it for the last 3 years. It's almost 3 years.
Well, I know you've wasted away. Well, not wasted away, but you've lost now a total of how many kilos now? You're down to something in the 60s, huh?
Yes.
And your body fat went from 28% down to 12%.
Yes. It is 11 to 12.
And your energy, your
Yeah.
mood, all these things.
Exactly,
You can
exactly.
still go to the gym and train and no
Yes.
problems.
So
I know everyone says, "Oh my goodness, if you're not eating a lot of carbs, how are you going to have the energy?"
I place weight loss or fat loss. I place at the bottom of my benefit from this diet. So there's lots of tons benefit with this way of eating, like high fat, low carb eating. You have lots of other benefits apart from the weight loss. Weight loss is something which you will get it. I mean, you should at least place it on the last things, starting from your focus, your mental clarity, your energy levels, your hormone, your gut. I mean, feeling more healthy, and then at the end we're getting a good result in terms of weight loss.
So I know in India, dysbiosis or the microbiome is in a pretty bad state, and I think it's mostly coming from, what about these legumes? I mean, dal is a very important part of the Indian diet. What do you do with all these legumes and dal and things? Do you eat much of that or not too much?
When a person started a strict ketogenic diet, then we have to remove all these dals and legumes from their diet also, because they also contain lots of carbs. But if
and lectins. I know
lectins,
there's
of
a lot
course,
of
this is
lectins, which can be very
exactly,
toxic if you've got autoimmune disease or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if a person have to have some legumes or dal, anything, then they can use those legumes, or they can use by just soaking it overnight, or just using by cooking pressure cooker. So that's they can remove some of those toxins, some lectins and those toxins removed from the legumes.
Right.
And
fermenting
these
pressure
things,
cooker,
pressure
soaking nuts and all these things. Yeah. Okay, good. So, and then the fats, not particularly difficult to do the fats with the yogurt and everything. Okay.
You can have ghee, which is very famous in India.
Yeah.
You can have butter. You can have avocado. You can have the coconut oil. You can have olive oil for your salad dressing.
Yeah.
You can have sesame seeds. So you can have also seeds also, you can get it
Lots of
some
fat,
good amount of
some
fat.
of fat in the
Yes.
seed. Deepak, we've got an idea about, you know, what you went through and things, but I want to get maybe more specific. For instance, why did you actually, what was the decision that you came to of why you wanted to, you know, lose these 28 kilos or something? I mean, I don't think you had diabetes or anything, right? You,
No,
it
no, I
wasn't a
don't.
medical reason. So for you, what was the real reason for you to do this
Okay.
change in your lifestyle?
So I would like to tell you this. I have a good gym waist, which I like the most, and when I'm just wearing the waist and going to my gym, I don't like my tummy. I don't like my waist. So
You had a big belly.
exactly, I'm
Okay.
looking into the mirror and just thinking
Okay.
about me, that this is not me. 3 year, 4 year before, I don't look like this, and I don't want to look like this anymore.
Okay.
So that's the one point. I just decided that I have to do something. I don't know much about the food
Right.
before
But that
earlier.
started your journey.
That's the
started your
moment
journey.
when I just seriously decided that I have
Yeah.
to do something.
Yeah. So, also on a deeper level, I mean, what sort of emotions did you go through, or did you, you know, what sort of insights and things did you deliver, or was it just like turning a switch on and today I'm thing, or how did you process what you were trying to do?
It took me almost 6 to 7 days, because it's happened. I started, and again I just eat something, and again, I mean, the moment when I decided is when 2 or 3 people are just poking me and just look at his belly and look at what happened to him. 2 of them are one of my close friends. Then I have decided, now this is the end, and now I have to do something. And that the day when I just started everything, I learned more about this low carb diet, and then I just shifted to this high fat low carb diet.
Right.
It's the keto diet.
Now, obviously, for a lot of people, you know, when we've been talking about so many grams of protein or fat and things, I mean, I think what would be helpful to some of the folks listening is, you know, how do you roughly gauge things? I mean, a lot of people I know, when I'm talking about meat, I'll tell a person to try and eat, you know, the piece of steak the size of the palm of your hand or something like that. So can you give us an idea, without necessarily the grams and percentages, but, you know, from a practical point of view, a little bit about the fat, protein and carbs one should eat as a vegetarian to be keto?
I don't care about the veggies and the fat, the amount of fat and veggies I'm having. Mostly is the protein. Yes, so it's the same with the meat eater. If you're having a cheese, have just the piece of a matchstick, or
Okay.
just palm, just the size of your palm.
Or
That's
the size of a matchbox, or a little bit
Matchbox,
bigger.
or the size of your palm.
mm.
That's the amount of protein you
good-
can have.
a good
Exactly.
measurement
A
for
good
protein.
measurement for protein.
And like you say, fat, because it doesn't bump the insulin.
exactly.
You can eat as much good fat,
Good fat.
as you
I'm
like.
talking about
Yeah,
good fat, not the trans
Yeah.
fat.
So, and then obviously the carbs you've mentioned before. I mean, the vegetables and salads, you don't put any limit on that. You can pretty much eat the veggies and the salads
The veggies,
like you
the
want,
greens, the leafy greens,
All
all the
good.
veggies, you can have as much as you
as
can.
much as you like.
Yeah.
And then it's really what you mentioned earlier. You just have to stay away completely from the grains,
Completely.
the rice,
Grains, especially the fruit,
and the fruit.
which is considered as a healthy diet.
Yeah.
But again, a banana
It's
is
nature's candy,
exactly,
right?
A banana is a nature's candy. It's
Yeah.
about 20 grams carbs.
Yeah. Okay, so very little fruit. Can you eat any fruit? Were you eating any fruit on the
I
diet?
do eat some strawberry.
Some berries.
Occasionally some strawberry and some blueberries, raspberries. Some berries I do eat occasionally.
Yeah.
But that is something just to treat myself, not
Yeah.
the everything. Like it's not like that I'm starting eating strawberry and just I can finish eat like half kg or something. You just need to treat yourself.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, I know this from my own practice. I mean, sometimes that, you know, people want to know that how do you inspire a person in a way? I mean, it's always difficult to change these habits.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, I'm sure, I don't know if you have a little picture or something, you say, hey, look, this is me just like you, several, a year or two ago, or what do you encourage people? How do you encourage them to make a lifestyle change like this?
Whenever a patient come to me, I'll say a client come to me, so I always ask the reason why he or she came to me. It can be different for everyone.
So in your case, it was,
yes,
I want to look better.
Yeah. In
Right.
some cases, there's some medical condition. In
Right.
some cases, there might be the issue will be the same with I am
Yeah.
struggling. Most of the time, most of the time the case will be the medical reason, or sometimes they just don't feel healthy.
Right.
So the reason can be anything.
There is, yeah. And then what do you do to give them encouragement in a way? Do you see them on a regular basis? Do you talk to them periodically on the phone? Do they send you, I'm taking a picture of my dinner this night and send it? I mean, what do you do to help sort of motivate and inspire some of the clients?
So initially we interact, I'll try to interact as much as I can. So like
Is that
taking
daily
a
or
picture.
weekly or?
Mostly it's weekly.
Weekly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in some cases, if I have to talk a person daily, because a person can be different, so I have to manage themselves. So if a person want to talk me daily, I can do it. If a person just want to inform me a weekly basis what all they are eating, so we can also do it like that. But ideally, it's once in a month. I definitely need a consultation, one-on-one consultation with the client.
So Deepak, before we end, let me ask you, if there's one single bit of advice you would offer a veg who wants to do a keto diet, what would that one piece of advice be?
I will say educate themselves. There's lots of myths in the market, especially in this health industry. There's lots of myths like calorie in versus calorie out. A calorie is a calorie. You can't eat fat, otherwise you'll get fat. There's lots of myths in the market. So you need to educate yourself. Just read the stuff, read the latest, the studies, read the stuff, educate yourself, and you're good to go.
Just before we end, where, if I was that person, where would you recommend that I go to read the stuff? There's obviously a lot of stuff out there. I mean, are there certain keto blogs? Are there people you like your clients to follow? I mean, how would I make some discrimination so I'm not reading the wrong stuff? How do I get to read the important stuff that I need to know?
So can I talk about our diversity app or something? Because we are also putting these.
You mean with
the diversity app which we are doing? So we are also putting this study material up.
Oh, you mean the academy stuff in that?
Yes.
I would say probably it would be too advertising for ourselves. I don't think it's cool. We probably need to give it in a bigger. We shouldn't be advertising ourselves with this. We should give it a broader approach, right? A broader approach.
So books.
So
you can say like if it's
books, I guess. Dr. Jason Fung's or
yeah, we could mention maybe
books.
one of mine or
Yeah,
Fong or
books.
some other guys. There are a couple of other guys
Obesity
there.
Code or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. So yeah, okay. So pick it up there. Just quote a few books, and then maybe there are a couple of good keto, bloggers, keto bloggers and things. So you can mention a few of them. Yeah, that's good. So okay, so I've asked the question. You're going to respond and tell me, how do I best, get this information?
So there's lots of good books available in the market. Like there's a good doctor, Dr. Jason Fung. He just it's books Obesity Code. Then you can find some good YouTuber like Dr. Eric Berg or Dr. Kane Berry, where you can get lots of information regarding keto, regarding low carb. And I prefer books. So books is the best thing you can get just to educate yourself. So there's a good book called Obesity Code. Then there's even in your book, The Metabolic Miracle.
Right. So look, if people wanted to get some information from you, we'll probably put your website up, because I know you have a good website in India as well. But I'm sure some of the listeners would like to, particularly the veg, would like to write to you to get some.
So
help.
I do have my own Facebook page, which is Eat Fat to Get Thin.
I like that. Eat fat to get thin. Okay, that's great. Okay, good. Listen, thanks very, very much for coming to Dubai and sharing some of your wisdom with us. We really appreciate it.